Oh,
Oh, I haven't had that before. Oh, recording in progress.
GDPR rules, probably, David.
We're going to get thrown out of this podcast by the EU.
Yeah, probably. Oh dear.
Right. Well, it's We've Been Watching with Claire Woodward and David Stevenson. How are you, Claire?
Very good, if a little damp. The weather's been nice and then it started raining, so it's a good excuse to stay in and watch bad television, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a thin old week, really. Some things that have been relatively good, others I started liking, and then they faded from view, really. But it's not a bad week, I guess. But yeah, the weather has helped you settle in a bit. But I was distracted by the barbecue, of course. Anyway.
Always distracted by the barbecue. I mean, it's been one of those funny weeks where there's been quite a few things stripped over more than one night, which as an old television viewer, I find rather confusing.
Yeah, in fact, I gave that the rocket this week, stripping. For some reason, I'm against it. In the TV terms, I'm certainly against the practice because, I mean, now that we have catch-up TV, I can't really see the point of it.
Exactly. And I just think it sets things out of kilter completely. I mean, you know, I would rather watch something either on catch up or once a week. And then when you have some programs, they sort of they're stripped over 3 nights and then they go weekly. I mean, I think it just confuses the viewers rather than makes things an appointment to view.
Yeah, I mean, we're back to the whole event television thing. Is it worth it? I mean, the viewer will make an event of the TV show if it's a great television show. If it's not, you can't make an event out of it by running it over consecutive nights. So this week we'll have a look at 2 stripped shows, Anne Boleyn and Masked Dancer. In fact, the Pact is stripped show over consecutive nights. I don't know whether that counts. We'll have a look at that as well. That was the end of that. I was going to say comedy thriller. In fact, for me, it was a comedy thriller. I don't know about for everybody else. And we'll have a look at Life Stories with Keir Starmer, which he seemed to survive. Or did he? So Anne Boleyn over 3 nights on Channel 5. I mean, this was quite a well-told drama and a story that we know well along with it. And I must admit that having watched episode 1 and episode 3, I'm really none the wiser about what it was doing there. In the end, for me, it felt a bit like a school play that I'd watched because it didn't seem to drift outside the castle walls. I know she was in the Tower of London, but there was no environment at all. In the 3rd episode, particularly, we had no sign of Henry. What was he doing? Playing golf or probably real tennis? I mean, I would have liked a few shots of that, but otherwise I couldn't see what was going on. It could have been set in the 20th century.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a drama. We all know Channel 5 does really well with everything royal. And I think this was just a step too far. I just thought, does this, to quote something else, which I can't remember, is your drama really necessary? If any adult in this country that watches any amount of television doesn't know the story of Anne Boleyn already, I suggest they haven't been paying attention, because I think there must be some law in broadcasting that every week there is some kind of program about the Tudors. It's the most overtold period in history. And, and I thought this added absolutely nothing to the story. I couldn't get into it. It just irritated me deeply.
Yeah, it was hard to know what it was doing there, absolutely. Especially when we've had Wolf Hall, which is with Mark Rylance in the role as Cromwell. That's probably one of the definitive Tudor drama, I would think. I mean, we haven't seen all of it, but that was an incredible performance, an incredible cast. I mean, in this case, you could, on one side of the fence, some people will accuse Channel 5 of cynical casting. And they got quite a bit of attention. There was also a lesbian kiss. I don't know whether that's cynical storytelling or not. That was the oddest thing. And then Anne Boleyn saying, "I can see the appeal," after she kissed Jane Seymour. And of course, that's probably not true. We don't know. I mean, lots of things were going on in the Tudor court. I don't expect that possibly was. But the tagline at the start of it, inspired by truth and lies. So I don't know. I could not. What does that actually mean?
Well, I've never seen that at the front end of a film before. I mean, why would you even say that? You know, you could just say, you know, some events have been fictionalized, that was just to appease the history fans, wasn't it? Who were just saying, oh, they'd never have a lesbian kiss and blah blah blah. And I just thought, you know, Jodie Turner-Smith, isn't it, lead actress? Yeah, I thought she deserved better. I think she's a fantastic actress, and and because of the sort of race-blind casting, she will get a lot of attention for this. But I think she really deserves better than to being cast in something as bland as this. I mean, as you say, you know, that school play thing, you know, it was really like, you know, Cromwell came to her in her rooms in the third part, and it was almost like, ho ho ho, well, you know, if you've got to play up, girl, and you know, you've got to be a good girl and do what we say. It was so simplistic.
It was simplistic. It was like you'd gone to the theatre in the sixth form or something to see it.
It was like the Archers, wasn't it? Oh, you know, hello, here comes Neil into the corner shop now.
I quite like when she complained about the peacocks. I thought that was that heavy symbolism, the peacock and Henry. That's what it was pathetic. I'll go and hunt them down. And then I had this image of him having to eat this peacock or slaughter it on his sort of massive dining table or something. I mean,
and then throw the bones over his shoulder.
The other thing about it was a bit sort of po-faced as well. There was no humour at all. So there was no attempt to sort of give the darkness a little bit of light at all. So in that sense, we were sort of weighed down by the impending tragedy all the time, which we knew about anyway. I mean, it needed to be a bit more of a romp. I mean, it's interesting what you say about feeding into their royal coverage. I mean, was it there, I wonder, again, cynically, to feed into this sort of wronged royal person, royal woman in court? I mean, do you think it's sort of pandering to that?
Yeah, I really do, because the programme that was on after the third episode was Meghan, what went wrong? You know, so I don't know if they're sort of, you know, sort of running a series on wronged royals or something. But I mean, and there was also a trail for the new season of Channel 5 drama on after the Anne Boleyn thing, and it said stories you know, stories you don't. And I thought, I'd really have some more stories I don't know. Thank you very much. Because what's the point in watching drama if, you know, we watch it because we want to be surprised and delighted and shocked sometimes. And, you know, Anne Boleyn's story is still shocking. But when you know what happens, and as I say, in such intimate detail, and there are so many great Tudor historians, why was this even on, especially over 3 nights, when they could have condensed it easily into an hour and a half?
And actually they thought they did something very different with it, but they really didn't. They didn't move away from the story very much. So this whole notion that they wanted to get away from factual storytelling and tell something very different as an historical drama, which is what the advisor to the show, Dan Jones, said, wasn't in fact true. I don't think it went far enough. I mean, why didn't they just do something completely different and find a way of doing it? If you were doing it on the stage, you were writing a play about Anne Boleyn now, you'd do something completely different. You'd modernize it. You'd absolutely go for it. And then you'd feed into modern themes and everything else, rather than do simple colorblind casting and think, well, does that make it any different? No, it doesn't really make it any different at all. That's
no, not at all.
Fallacy. No. That's a whole fallacy, which does annoy me.
Yeah, I think you've got producers thinking they're being a little bit edgy, whereas, you know, a great actress is a great actress. You'd have to be a terrible old racist to keep going on about this. But, you know, she is a great actress, but she deserved better than this, which I just thought was an old pot boiler and badly told, as you say, in comparison to Wolf Hall, which was rich and deep and, you know, very historically accurate. This was... you know, I can't see how the casual viewer not interested in history would have actually been drawn in by this.
No, and I mean, just finally, just on the casting, not to leave it. I mean, generally the cast, the supporting cast were not absolutely brilliant. And these are very complex roles. Cromwell, Henry is an incredibly complex character. So you need very good actors to draw it out. Otherwise, you don't go anywhere near these characters. There's too much involved, and we've got too much knowledge of them, haven't we, really?
Exactly. It was nice to see Amanda Burton, though. I haven't seen her in anything for a while. So she played one of the ladies in waiting. That was nice. But I honestly think there is
said a word.
I know. And I went, oh, she's gone nice and grey. But sincerely, I think there should be an absolute moratorium on anything Tudor for a couple of years. I mean, my guilty pleasure is watching David Starkey programs about the Tudors, because I think he's a great historian. But can we just leave them alone? There are other great stories. You've got Bridgerton, examining the Regency period. And even if that's not historically correct, at least it's fresh. Enough Tudors already.
Yeah, time out for the Tudors. Oh, Siri's just talked to us. That was interesting.
Oh, that's good. At least someone's listening.
Siri just agreed with time out for the Tudors. Oh, well done,
Fantastic.
Siri. God,
the internet agrees with us.
Even my iPhone agrees with me.
Fabulous. Well, at least somebody does, David.
Well, 2 stars for me.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, it was beige TV at its worst.
So the Pact on BBC One finally came to an end over 2 nights, over a mini stripping, I suppose, on Monday and Tuesday night. Now, I kept going with this for quite a while, and I don't know that I wasn't more amused by it than I was dramatized by it, if you like. I mean, it was there was drama there. They tried to create a lot of drama, but I found it quite silly at points and couldn't really take it seriously. Especially with Nancy the blackmailer. I couldn't really get that story all the way through. And of course, spoiler alert, she ended up owning up to doing the killing and went to prison for it, which made me think maybe that was just a lead in to a second series. I can't. Would we have another series? The figures probably were quite good.
Well, yes, they probably were. But I mean, again, this is one of those dramas. I thought this could be an hour and a half again. It was just endless padding. And, when I saw sort of Eddie Marson's character come in, I thought, oh, he's going to be something amazing. And, they pretty much, popped his clogs fairly early. And it was just a load of bickering old women in a Welsh brewery with a bit of police shouting. And honestly, I did see the end coming from a mile off, I'm afraid, which is a shame, really, because I enjoyed the tension that built up in the first episode of, will they get caught or won't they? I did find that incredibly tense, but it just turned into another pot boiler that I didn't really care about.
No, it's hard to. Yeah, I sort of cared for the family situation, but that got absolutely ridiculous, didn't it, in episode 5? When in the middle of all this massive drama, they called in a family counsellor. I mean, I've never heard of a family counsellor, but I think I might call one in just for the fun of it one Friday evening.
You've lived a very sheltered life, David, and have a very happy family, obviously. But,
get a bottle of wine out and see. And then, of course, they shooed away this family counsellor when everybody had left the room, and it turned out that it was £80 plus VAT. It was the best line of the last 2 episodes. It's £80, and there was pause. Plus VAT.
Well, more of that, please. Yes.
And then off he went. But I did quite like Jason Hughes' performance when he went absolutely ballistic in the car. You're destroying everything. You're destroying everything, and thumping the steering wheel. And poor Laura Fraser sitting there saying, I could see her thinking, "Oh my God, he's gone completely bonkers."
Yes, it was. I mean, he's a good actor, and I think he should be the lead in something. Ideally, not another detective drama. But as I say, and when his daughter was being sick at the sort of funeral, I thought, do you not realise now that she's pregnant by Aneurin Bevan's character, not Aneurin Barnard's character? It was just
would have been brilliant if it had been Bevan.
Wouldn't it have been fantastic if Aneurin Bevan, the man who invented the NHS, turned up in it? How fabulous!
That's a good drama, Claire. Write that one.
Yeah, we'll write that in our spare time. But I just, again, it was far too long, really far too long. And as you always say, David, in these days when there's so much television to watch, I think, you know, when you can watch something in less than half an hour on Netflix and come away feeling satisfied, when you've got things like this that just seem to go on and on and on. I mean, was this 6 parts?
It was 6 parts. And I mean, the thing I don't like, and, you know, of course, we've moved on, well, have we, from the days of the traditional Agatha Christie setup where you are revealed the killer that you don't realize you have been in the first 5 minutes or first 10 pages. And then you've got to work it out for the next 200. What happened here, of course, was that you were introduced to a killer or the potential of a killer, you know, 2 hours before the end. So as an audience, you're not there with the mystery. You have to be there with the mystery, don't you? If you're not along with the mystery, you're not engaged, are you? You're thinking, oh, it's still going to be one of the women from the brewery all the time. And it sort of looked like that in a way, because they're all a bit of tendency to be psychos, weren't they? But we weren't. And suddenly Tam, the daughter, she's pregnant, she told Ryan, then they set off into the woods on those bicycles. It was like Enid Blyton meets
yeah, all they need was Timmy the dog and some ginger beer to go on a murder spree. Yes,
let's go and get the brewery owner. Yeah, let's get the brewery owner, because we only like lemonade, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it struck me that it was trying to go for the female demographic, you know, the women that like crime, the women who sort of, you know, have lots of female friends and blah blah blah, a sort of middle-aged girl gang thing. But it's just too long. I mean, I would love to know how you know, the broadcasters work out how long these series should be, because surely some commissioning editor says this could do with slicing in half.
I think it's too late by that point. I think they do. I think initially it'll be the commissioning editor and what slots are available as well. I mean, there would be a lot of slots available now. If you walked in with 6 hours of competent drama, I think they'd just be hugs everywhere, forget the social distancing, I imagine. So, but I'll probably give it 3 stars, just because I stayed with it the whole time over 3 weeks, which is quite unusual for me. My attention.
Well, you did want to know what happened at the end. I mean, I stuck with it to the end just to see what happened. But a second series, not for me. 3 stars. Yes, sorry, we're always in agreement, but there you go.
Well, let's talk about Piers Morgan's life stories with Keir Starmer, which I think a lot of people were looking forward to, weren't they? Because there seems to be this yearning to get to know Keir Starmer more, even if you're an arch Tory, I think.
Well, I, you know, it was obvious why Starmer did it. You know, he wants to sort of, you know, get in touch with the voters and people not to think he's a robot. And I thought he came across rather well. And I think, you know, Piers Morgan wasn't afraid to go in with a few basic good questions, like, you know, why has Labour lost 4 elections and what are you going to do next? Which I thought was absolutely right. But, you know, we did find out more about Starmer, you know, particularly with his relationship with his parents, which I thought was very moving. But has there been another politician do the Life Stories show? I can't think of anyone else.
Not recently, I don't think. I mean, it's more your sort of celebrity or performer, isn't it, that goes on there. I mean, the only thing I thought when it first started was that it was quite chummy, and I thought that probably wasn't the right tone. They were both Arsenal supporters, and I could see that they were quite friendly towards each other. Okay, I mean, there was nothing high stakes about this interview, don't get me wrong, but I thought that was maybe a little bit too friendly. I mean, the Rodney thing was, what did you think of that? I thought that was sort of bizarre in a way, that he didn't like Rodney, and I thought it's one of the most popular characters ever in a sitcom. What are you doing? Stop it.
It was bizarre. I mean, I did go to a wedding once and the groom's middle name was discovered to be Manuel, which was another top comedy character, and did raise quite a laugh in the registry office. But yes, it was odd, wasn't it? And because he said, I was named after my father, Rodney, and you do wonder whether that didn't come into play, his sort of, you know, difficult relationship with his own father. But that was never pursued, was it, by Morgan? But, you know, this format is an interesting interview one, isn't it? Because essentially presumably it comes out of the entertainment department of ITV. So,
well, also the thing about the format that struck me straight away, and I hadn't watched it for a while, it's basically This Is Your Life, but set in a studio where all the people are. You know, I mean, I'd much prefer to have people coming out of the audience awkwardly. Oh, sorry, you know, God, yeah, no, I'm a girlfriend. Make way, coming up to the stage and talking there. But it's sort of close to that in a way. But the thing that bugs me about it is that, you know, why not just sit there with a stopwatch and see how long is it going to be before Piers Morgan makes somebody cry, you know? And, you know,
well, that's a raison d'etre, isn't it?
It is, but, you know, but if you know that's coming and you know what the questions are and it's that formulaic, does it make the same sort of impact? Like it, because you always unlock something with parents, you know, as do interviews, and if you want to touch a raw note, you ask about, you know, are your parents still around? This is not how every journalist should behave, of course, but I'm told this works.
But it's what gets, you know, it's what makes, you know, we talk about event television, don't we? It's what makes this an event when you know, sort of do it. Piers does an interview and you discover something new about these people. Because I mean, often the people on the series are, you know, it's a very well trodden path. You know, if you're a television celebrity, we know everything about you already. Where at least with Starmer, there was always going to be a sign that he might reveal something, like, you know, he had a few spliffs when he was a student. That we hadn't heard before. So at least there was some expectation of you might hear something new out of this one.
And I think what was great about that was that he kept just saying we had a good time. And that was brilliant in a way, because it killed the story, didn't it? I thought that was very clever, whether that was his idea or PR's idea, but he just kept saying that. And I realized, because if you say something that suggests more than that, it then becomes a clip and a soundbite that can be used endlessly. So it sort of snuffed the story, didn't it? If there was one, I don't think it was a story really.
But it was, I mean, Morgan is a good interviewer, isn't he? You know, and he's a great, you know, that's what made him a great tabloid editor. He's good at stirring things up, which he was on GMB.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, something needs to happen with GMB. It does need to be stirred up after his departure. I don't know whether you got to see the ratings or not, but Susanna Reid has been off for this week for the half term, and the episode, which was presented by Adel Ray and who did Strictly, I've forgotten her name, which is terrible anyway, but that got barely 660,000 viewers, which is stonkingly low. I mean, that's sort of tanking, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, you know, much as, you know, Piers Morgan, you know, sticks in my craw sometimes, at least he makes something. And, you know, when you're producing a daily television show, it must feel like a sausage machine sometimes, you know, and obviously, you know, you have to fill X amount of hours. But, you know, Morgan, you know, he wasn't irritant, but at least he gave the program some kind of flavor and attitude. You know, you might love him, you might love to hate him, but at least he was some kind of great personality on the show, and also a very knowledgeable man and a great journalist. So there is something kind of missing there from GMB at the moment.
Well, let's talk about the Masked Dancer, not the Masked Singer, the Masked Dancer, which ITV have come up with. I mean, I think this format, like everything, comes from America. I mean, all I thought immediately
I think it comes from South Korea.
Does it? South Korea have a lot of dancing and singing. Well, they like singing, don't they, there? Because they've got K-pop. Now we've got TV pop. Is that what we've ended up with?
This is what we've ended up with. I mean, I think this is a case of let's take a format and flog it to death and wring everything out of it, because watching celebrities sing, I think, is another matter. I mean, I thought it was a bit of genius in the last series of The Masked Singer when they had the lead singer of Aha sing one of his own songs, but slowed down. So well done to you, Morten Harket / Viking. But this is just, it misses out that personality thing. I mean, I was watching it and thinking, well, it must be difficult to dance with those stupid big bloody heads on. So that
I just kept thinking, God, this can't have been recorded in the summer. And then I thought, God, the next character I'll do is aircon, because that's what you'd want if you're inside one of those bloody great costumes. No, I didn't really get it. I enjoyed the first episode that went out last Saturday night, and then I hadn't looked ahead in the schedules, then realized it was going to strip partly across the week, and I thought I caught another episode. Then I was totally bored with the whole, oh God, it's Nigel Farage. No, it's Mary Berry. It's Fiona Bruce.
This is the whole thing. Maybe I'll go back now and rewatch this program and see how much the program is actually dancing and how much of the program is a far too large panel. We know there's sort of, you can have five members of the panel going, "Ooh, you're really good," and Jonathan Ross's rather long range joke about, is it Mary Berry? But it's not very entertaining watching people go, is it someone from a girl band? And, oh, aren't they good? It's just tiring. And an hour of that?
Yeah, I mean, basically if you're on the panel, you just get a copy of OK or Hello magazine and just keep flipping through, wouldn't you? Yeah, Mary Berry. Yeah, no, Lorraine Kelly. No. I didn't really get, I just lost the will a bit after 2.5 episodes, and you can't do a 90-minute installment each time. It's too much. It's really asking a lot of the audience. I suppose they thought, well, it's half-term week, there'll be children watching, so let's give them this really, really long show, and the parents will love us for doing that. But it just takes more than that. And you're right, they did ring it out with the panel. It was too much. I like Mo Gilligan. He comes out with some quite funny lines, but really,
he's always guessing which member of a girl band the women are, isn't he? That's why he's funny. But I think he's great. I think he's a great talent. I really like him. But like with Jonathan Ross, though, Mo and Jonathan should be doing something more. They're really great talents. They're great with people. They should be doing something better. So we allow them to see them as the clever blokes they really are.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's asking a bit of commissioning departments, really. I mean, when these formats come along that have been tried elsewhere, I just think they just must rush to get their hands on them, because they know it's just going to be TV gold. And Masked Singer has been that. I just wonder what's going to come. I mean, I was speculating on something. Masked Gardener. I thought of other formats that are all over the top.
Masked Chef.
Masked Chef or Cook. I
yeah.
thought the Masked Chef would be good. Now, who's cooked that up? I mean, I would probably watch that, but in a different form. People shout, Al Beru, I mean, how long is it before they're going to come up with someone who's dead? That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
The Masked Embalmer. That would be good.
What about the late Masked Singer? That would be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be fantastic, via Doris Stokes, but she's dead now. But it is, it's, and as you say, if they think they're aiming for the family audience, think again, because kids are watching, 30-second videos on TikTok.
They are. I suppose the thing is, it does look fantastic. It's like a sort of Bridgerton, but in entertainment format, absolutely, just a sort of riot of colours and, very entertaining to watch on screen. And I suppose they get away with that. People are going, oh God, look at Beetroot. I mean, I don't know whether Beetroot was put there. So for the vegan audience.
Yeah, Beetroot's a very popular thing at the moment, isn't it? But as you say, the Masked Singer really, there's been no surprises so far for me on the revelations. I mean, on the Masked Singer, when they had Alan Johnson, the former politician,
that was great.
who I guessed, and I just thought that was fantastic. That was a genuine surprise. But to see Zoe Ball, who's been amazing on Strictly Come Dancing, was not the big reveal that I would like to see.
No, I think far too much television thrown at this show, really, just far too much. I'll probably give it 3 stars just because I did watch more than I thought that I would do.
And again, I'd give it 3. It's middle of the road stuff, and as you say, it's that visual zap you don't often see, certainly on weekday television. But Beetroot, whatever. Yeah.
And just to finish, Claire, I hear you've got a hidden gem that not many of us have heard of, and it's not on scheduled television either.
It's not on scheduled television. Yeah, it's a Bravo series from, I guess it's probably about 5 or 6, even longer years old now. It's called Tabitha Takes Over. and
Oh
she's
dear,
this
it sounds like children's television.
I know, isn't it? It's like some nanny program, but in a way she's a former hairdresser who was on some American salon reality show. And she goes into various business, and like Alex Polizzi, she sort of, goes in, takes over, is quite stroppy with people, and everyone's happy at the end. Some of these businesses are hair salons, and some of them are really sort of heartwarming things. Like there's one about, the one of the first gay bars in a town in California, and they just need some help, and she goes in and gives them some tough love. But what I like about her is she's completely no nonsense, this woman. She's rail thin, blonde, with cheekbones you could cut cheese on. But she kind of really makes things happen. And I kind of like this dynamic American thing. And I like the feel good thing at the end. I'm clearly watching far too much reality television. I am the woman who watches far too much Quest Red, my £600 life. I just like watching really fat people wobble about and then have some weight loss surgery. So bad reality television, I think it's been a great comfort to many of us during lockdown. And if lockdown happens again, I shall keep recommending it to people. So Tabitha Takes Charge, is it? I can't remember what it's called, but it's on YouTube.
I think that's great, isn't it? Finding something on YouTube. YouTube is the sort of repository of all this stuff now, isn't it? I mean, you can get clips, everything, long form. You can subscribe. People subscribe to YouTube. I find that extraordinary, but it is a great, I mean, I spend a lot of time in there looking at clips of theme tunes and various things. I bored everyone senseless running through American TV theme tunes the other day, and no one had heard of a single one of them. I realized, God, you've watched too much American TV. It's quite interesting using YouTube when you're around other people to see what people fanatically search for, isn't it?
Absolutely. So what's the best TV theme tune ever, David?
Oh, the best TV theme tune ever. Gosh, that's quite difficult. Gee,
Well,
I think I'm either Dallas or Dynasty, because I confuse them all the time. It'd be one or t'other, I think, or probably Gilligan's Island.
Oh, for me, it's the Rockford Files.
Oh, that's great, isn't it?
Which is just the phone call.
Phone call, isn't it? Yeah, that's a great call.
Yeah,
we need a new Rockford Files, don't we? If anyone can rustle one up, that'd be lovely.
That was charming. But I think what we want is come on, tell us on Twitter what your favourite TV theme tune is.
That'd be lovely. And don't forget to leave voice messages. You can leave voice messages. I don't know what we do with voice messages, but it'd be nice to get some voice messages as blunt as possible about what you think about this podcast.
A bit like Tabitha, you can be completely blunt. Tell us what you think.
Be rude, and more.
Yeah, be Piers Morgan, be an irritant.
Absolutely. So until we hear some more voice messages and report back on them, it's been great, Claire. Have a good viewing week next week.
And you, here's to the next one.